Hey guys, welcome back to SkaterHQTV. Today we're going to do a quick video on bearings and bearing maintenance. This is a standard 8mm bearing, and they come in hundreds of different brands and colours, and for the most part they're all going to be pretty similar. There are two major different types, metal shielded and rubber shielded. Most of the aftermarket bearings you'll buy will be rubber shielded. A metal shielded bearing is going to be more durable and has a stronger bond between the shield and the case. It's held in place by a circlip. They're a little stronger, but they're harder to maintain. A rubber shielded bearing will stay cleaner, longer, but the shield is likely to come off if you're doing big tricks or heavy slides. However, a rubber shielded bearing is easier to pull apart and clean. A bearing is made up of 2 circular steel rings and 8 steel ball bearings, held in place by a plastic clip to keep them evenly spaced. First and most important rule of bearing maintenance is to not get them wet. If you go through a puddle and you don't pull them apart and dry them properly, then they're going to rust and you're going to have to buy a whole nother set of bearings. If you're not in the habit of pulling them apart after every skate, then at least try and find somewhere dry that you can roll around for half an hour and dry them out properly. As we said before, a rubber shielded bearing is super easy to clean. Just take a knife blade or some tweezers or a prison shiv and pop off the casings. Spray some WD-40 through the bearing to clean it out. Now, WD-40 is really great for cleaning bearings, but it also strips away any of the lubricant that's on them. So when you're finished cleaning your bearings, you have to make sure that you re-lubricate properly. There are 2 different types of lubricant available. We have oil and gel. Oil is going to be thinner and go on a little easier, but it's not going to help keep out any dirt. The gel is thicker, so as you apply it, it lubricates the bearings, but it also creates a barrier inside the bearing to keep out the dirt. Obviously, there's a big difference in price between bearings, and for the most part, that price is going to be a good indicator of quality. The more expensive bearings are going to be made out of a higher grade of steel, and the ball bearings inside are going to be made of steel or ceramic. For general skating purposes though, if you install your bearings correctly, even the cheap ones are going to last a long time. A higher grade of steel means it has a higher heat tolerance, and a ceramic ball bearing means it's not going to expand and cause the outer ring to crack. Now, ceramic is stronger than steel, so if any dirt does get into your bearing, it will clean itself out. However, ceramic can crack under pressure, so if you're doing big stair sets and big gaps, then your bearings aren't going to last very long. Now, a bearing only spins on one axis, so it's important that you install them properly. If they go in on even the slightest of an angle, the wheel will not spin properly and it may cause your bearings to break. In order to install the bearings correctly, we use a bearing press. Now, this ensures that the wheel sits perfectly flat and the bearings are pressed in nice and straight. When installing bearings into wheels, whether it's in a skateboard, scooter or rollerblades, you have to use a bearing spacer. Now, this guy sits in between the 2 bearings inside the wheel and stops any lateral or sideways pressure from over-tightening your axles. We've had a few people ask us how to remove bearings from metal core wheels, and guys, there's no easy way to do it. Because all the high-end gear is made with such precision, the bearings need to be installed under a lot of pressure, and therefore need the same amount of pressure to get them back out. When removing bearings from metal core wheels, it requires patience and persistence. Firstly, you take an Allen key and slide it through the hole in one bearing and catch on the underside of the opposite bearing. Then you take a hammer and hit repeatedly until it comes out. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. When installing or removing bearings on a skateboard, the easiest way to do it is to use the trucks on the board itself. Simply undo the axle nut remove the speed ring and use the truck as the lever to pry off the bearings. Turn the wheel over and repeat. When putting the new bearings in the wheel, we take both bearings, put them on the truck axle, shield side down, take one side of the wheel, press it down onto the top bearing, then we slide our bearing spacer onto the axle and turn the wheel over and repeat. Then we replace the speed ring and the truck axle. When all these parts are installed correctly, there should be no lateral movement on the axle, but your wheel should still spin smoothly. There you have it guys, bearing installation and maintenance. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time on SkaterHQTV.